Hello again, class. The last thing that we were working on in the sketchbooks was drawing hands. Okay, remember I gave you the assignment where you had to draw a couple different poses of hands and of your hands and draw them in your sketchbook. Okay, so there's a couple things I want to go over when it comes to drawing hands. And the thing about drawing hands and why they're kind of important to be able to draw, and also what makes them so difficult is there's so many components to the hand, and if you can apply what you know to drawing hands to drawing the human form. So it's usually the first thing that I like to get students started off with before we're going into, let's say, figure drawing. Okay, so I'm going to go through a couple different lessons here, and then you're going to take what I do here and apply it to a large session drawing on your 18 by 24 inch drawing paper. Okay, so let me just adjust this a little. Okay, all right. So as we started out this semester, the first thing we started doing was drawing boxes, right, and understanding perspective. So the reason why we start with that and then we work on the cylinders is because those simple shapes can be applied to just about every shape, pretty much, unless it's like a really organic shape. But even still, it can all apply to breaking down any object's fundamental shapes. So when we're talking about drawing a hand, the fundamental shape is, this is a box. It's just, I'm going to illustrate here. This is basically just a box, okay? So if I move it this way, you can see how you see the top of the box. This is straightforward. You can see how it looks at the side, right? So you can apply everything that we've done with 1 point, 2 point perspective to drawing a hand, right? It's 1 point perspective, 2 point perspective, right? Same thing. So with this being essentially a cube, a square, a box, right? Where do I go next with this basic shape? So in drawing a hand, I look for this shape, right, in the direction that this shape is going, right? But I also look for this shape right here that creates this meaty part of the hand, right? And even looking at this, there's actually two parts to this, top and side. Everything has these planar shifts, and what gives those away is, shadows, right? So if I look at this part of the hand, I look for this shape too. Here's another boxy object. It's kind of like this, right? And it also has two sides that I see here, right? So I'm looking for that. And then I'm also looking for, see these like 1, 2, 3? 1, 2, 3 right there. I'm also looking for those shapes. This is all going to make a lot more sense here in just a moment, okay? I'm just telling you what I'm looking for. And then that leaves me with this shape and this shape. See how those shapes all change as I move my hand around? Right? We're basically making a wireframe, right? Wireframe. My fingers are essentially tubes, right? If the hand is at rest, all the fingertips kind of go towards one another, right? If the hand's at rest. See how they're all going a different direction? So we got to think of these as individual cylinders that are changing direction. So this being one cylinder, 2 cylinders for the thumb, 1, right? This is a cylinder, 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 and then cylinder, 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 starting to tickle cylinder, right? And then these are cylinders. 1, 2, 3 cylinders per finger, except for the thumb, which is 2. Okay, so that's what I'm looking at when I'm drawing a hand. All right, so let's put that into practice. So, if I'm drawing my hand, I'm looking for that square shape. I'm looking for this shape here. that boxy shape. That's this. I'm looking for this. Okay. This is like the side of the hand. Okay, this is the side of the hand. See what this line is here? I'm just going to put that there. My wrist, which is also my arm, it's also a cylinder. Okay, see what I have there? It's palm of my hand. Remember, there's this shape there, here. Now, every time I draw a hand, do I necessarily draw all these components? Maybe not, but I know it's running in the background. I know what I'm looking for, and this is just basically an illustration of how to perceive lines and edges and shapes. Okay. Direction of the direction of the fingers. So let me start with the thumb. You know, I'm seeing this angle here, right? I want to get that same angle there. You know, I'm drawing really light like we always do in class. Drawing really light, keeping things fluid, not committing too early. I'm looking at this negative shape, negative space there. And notice when I draw those cylinders of hands, I'm thinking about how they overlap, because this finger doesn't start right there, right? You know, this is attached to the other side. So I'm thinking about where this ellipse, how it interacts with the palm of the hand, right? So I can look and see these lines. See that line? I can see them actually, you know, without these lines. I can see them in the creases of my finger. I don't know, maybe I'll just draw these first two fingers. I'll keep it really loose. Just trying to keep my hand at rest too. Move this back a little bit so you can see. There we go. Okay. Now this finger. Okay, so I'm also looking at the length of my fingers, right? So I'm comparing the length of this to this, and this is also from my point of view too, so it's more like, see how this finger's a little bit longer. You know, so I want to use that. I'm also looking at this whole shape here to help me get the distance and the size of the thumb. I can also look at the tip of the thumb and where it interacts with the rest of the hand. Like if I was to put a line, imaginary line from here to here, it's almost with this first knuckle. So I might be a little bit higher here. I might need to trim that down a little bit. Like I said, this is a sketch practice. So I'm also looking at how this finger interacts with this. So I'm looking at this shape, right? This distance. That gives me a little bit of an indicator. So I'll start with this finger now. This section of the finger. Notice how I'm looking at the actual just shape, and I'm just kind of I'm finding the shape of the thumb. You know, I'm not just doing one shot. I'm, you know, slowly finding the shape a little bit at a time. Okay. So, it's a quick sketch of a hand. Wiping some of that off. So I'm going to cut off this light now and give myself a little more shadow. Okay. So, the next area you want to go to help define some of the shape of the fingers is to have a strong light source. So my strong light source is over to this side, so it's casting shadows this way. That's going to allow me to easily see some of these shadows that I need to put in. Right? So this is how I'm building the drawing. Okay, so let's start with another page. Let's start something else. So again, this is how I want you to go about drawing your large hand drawing onto your 18 by 24 inch large sheet, right? So let's say we have, this is our sheet, 18 by 24, okay? This is the 18 by 24, 18 by 24, okay? When you're drawing the hand, I want you to draw as large as you can without breaking the picture plane, okay? I want you to be able to fit the entire hand onto the page. So this is going to be maybe 4 times larger than your actual hand. So how do you place your drawing onto the picture plane without breaking these borders, but without making like a little small drawing of a hand? Because I want this to be big. So when you go to your drawing, your large format drawing, you're going to be looking for a couple different things. You're going to be looking at these lines. See this line, this line? I also want you to have a little bit of the wrist, but I'm mostly looking for this, this, and this, right? So I'm thinking about the hand not as a three-dimensional object. I'm just thinking about it as the space that it takes up, volume-wise. So let's say it's something like this. Oh, let me clamp this down. Something like this. Right? So basically the drawing is going to be like this, right? The hand will go up to here. These are the fingers. Right? I just need to get this shape. Okay. When you go to work on your large scale drawing, we know the wrist is going to come in like this. So you got to plan this out beforehand. You just don't want to start like drawing a finger because then you might go off the picture plane. I want you to work on your composition by setting these parameters. So this is all the extra space. I can't really go too much bigger than that because the thumb, the index finger, this finger is going to be way up here, and then these fingers are going to come down. So a quick sketch of this. Remember, this is how I'm going to be planning it on the 18 by 24. Let's do a quick sketch of a hand. Okay, so I've got it planned out. So here in just a moment, you're going to meet me over at the large format drawing, and I'm going to show you again how to start your drawing. And then you're going to get a time lapse of me working on, or another time lapse of me working on a larger hand drawing. Okay? Okay, so now I'm going to demo what I want you to do on your full-size 18 by 24 inch sheet. So as I was talking earlier about planning the drawing out, making sure that the whole hand fits on the surface of my paper. I don't want to see small drawings, I want to see really large drawings. I want you to make the drawing as large as you can without breaking the edge. So again, I'm going to look for those parameters, you know, around the hand. Right? So this is the size that I'm working to. Okay, so maybe this is a good place to stop and just talk about the drawing so far. So a couple things I want to point out to you. Sorry, you'll have to excuse the shaky video and all that. I'm still getting used to all this. So one thing you definitely want to look for as far as sizing the fingers is look at where the lines of the knuckles overlap. So this is already telling me a couple things. I'm looking for this line in comparison to this line here, right? So that feels about right. This should be a little higher. This right here should be a little bit lower. So that's telling me this finger is getting away from these three fingers, or it started a little too big. Also, this is a good time in the drawing, now that I have all the information, to really just give myself some distance. So I'm standing back about I'm standing back in 6 feet. I am social distancing myself from my drawing. And that is extremely important. So I'm reevaluating everything, and it looks like either one or two things are happening, or both of these things are happening. The drawing's a little big here, and it's getting smaller as I work up. See how I'm working a little smaller within my parameters? So I either have to do one or two things. I have to bring down the size of this thumb, or make these fingers a little bit longer. I think I might make these fingers a little bit longer. I feel like this is more right than this. Okay, so now I'm going to return back to the drawing. Alright, so at this point I'm going to use some charcoal. I want to start adding some shadows to work with. I'm feeling pretty good about the proportions on the drawing. So that's what you're seeing. I'm going to start adding value, start addressing the background, start adding, doing a little bit of subtractive drawing, and also doing quite a bit of hatch marks as well to build up value. Okay? So what I'm doing is I'm working around the entire drawing, and I'm working with my hatch marks now. So what I'm doing is I'm doing two things at once. I'm laying down some more value that I can work with in the areas that I need it, but I'm also making my hatch marks with the shape of whatever part of the drawing, whatever part of the hand I'm drawing. So as I go along, I'm adding value, but I'm also defining the shape. Because one of those, when you add value, you are defining the shape. As long as that value is, you're drawing what you see. You're drawing the shadows. When you're drawing the shadows, you're also drawing the light too, from what you leave behind. So where I am now in the drawing is I'm doing the whole thing again. I need to give myself some room, give myself some space to kind of look at everything again. Decide if the drawing's starting to get away from me. Starting to see this finger right here is looking a little big, so I need to do something in this way. Maybe shift this line over a little bit. As far as the value, it still needs more value over here. It's looking a little anemic. This is starting to come together in this area. And you can see, I'll zoom in. Jeez. Okay, zoom in a little bit. So I want you to just pay attention to the direction of my marks. The direction of your marks are extremely important because they contrast one shape from another shape. Okay, so that contrast makes the drawing appear more three-dimensional. Okay, so here's where we're gonna leave it for today. This is where I want you to get with your drawings, okay? Let's flip this around. I want you to get a nice work in progress, okay? Just like this. It's not quite complete. I don't expect you to have a complete drawing in 3 hours, but I do want to have you have everything addressed as far as the proportions, and I want you to have everything addressed as far as getting the entire hand as large as you can on the sheet of paper. All right? Okay, till next time. Bye.